Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited. Today we have Heather Gardner on the show. She is a TV host. She's been host of Entertainment Weekly, Quibi. Did I say that right?
Quibi.
Quibi.
Today, coincidentally, today is the anniversary of the year that it died. Rest in peace.
Okay. Quibi. I can't keep up.
It's a good day to get
Okay.
the name wrong.
Okay. Huffington Post,
Yep.
Yahoo Entertainment, and she's currently host of the Hey America show, which is a game show where you can make money.
Yeah, it's quite
Win
the
money.
pivot.
Yes. That's so awesome. I love that
Yeah.
you're here. And
Thank
maybe
you
you
for
can give
having
me
me.
some tips too, because you're used to be on camera. You're so witty and quick thinking. Sometimes I go blank when I'm interviewing people.
But
I'm like,
sometimes I do too.
do you? But I mean, that's good because I know you're a talker too. So I was like, okay,
Definitely,
cool.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. So today, you're very successful, but we're not going to talk about your work as much as we're going to talk about your marriage today
Perfect.
to your lovely husband,
My
Loren.
lovely husband. He's going to love this so much. Yes, talk all the dirty details.
Okay, so let's rewind to the beginning.
Yes.
Because you guys have been together for a long time.
Oh my God.
You met in
I don't-
school, right?
Yes, and I don't even want to say how long because it just makes me feel so old.
Oh, come on.
11, almost 11 years.
11 years. And you met in college?
Yes,
Is that
we
right?
met in college, which if you're doing the math, I'm old.
think-
No, yeah, so I was actually interning here in Los Angeles, and we lived in the same like student housing building while he was in school too, and yeah, that's how we met. As they say, the rest is history. Shortest podcast ever.
Okay, how did you guys get together? Were you friends first?
No.
No?
This was one of those like it's kind of crazy because I talk to people now who are in the dating world and I've been out of it for more than a decade now, but it was really just like on the cusp of, before everything changed where you had to like meet people in person. Like Twitter existed and Facebook existed. Instagram didn't even exist yet, which meant, Tinder and all of these apps that we use nowadays didn't exist. And so we literally just met at like a dorm party. And I just walked in and I had just moved to Los Angeles. So I was feeling like really lonely. It was the first time I was ever away from my family, my state, my college friends. And I was just really lonely and kind of had like this idea that I was like gonna meet a guy. And I'm like, yeah, who in this like group of people do I want to talk to? And I like honestly zeroed in on him. And I was like, he's the cutest one. So I'm going to talk to him. And like, he kind of had that same connection with me from across the room, just like a little movie. And a few weeks later, I like knocked on his door. I was the one who made the first move. I knocked on his door. I found out where he lived from his roommate. And I was like, you want to hang out? And we have hung out every day since for the last 11 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And were you always pretty bold? Did you like were you normally the one approaching men?
No,
Like-
because that was my upbringing because I grew up in the South and it was just very like, the women were supposed to be waited on, all these types of things. And so I was such a prude. I really was waiting for like these boys, not even men, boys of my adolescence to make the first move. And I was feeling really frustrated. That's why I didn't have a boyfriend until I was almost in my 20s. Because boys are shy too. And then when I got into college, I blossomed a little bit. And then moving to California, specifically like Los Angeles, I kind of told myself that I was just going to get out of that shell. Like you were away from that culture. You're away from, what everybody's told you and like just say yes to things. And I wasn't even thinking romantically at the time. I was like, you took this big leap by coming to California and taking this internship. Like just say yes to experiences. And so when I like zeroed in on him, I was like, well, why do I have to wait? Like I'll just do it. And if I had waited, I might still be waiting because he was like playing video games and he told me like, later that the attraction was there, but he had no plans on like, I think he was probably just going to wait till he passed me in the hall or something. Who knows how long that would have taken?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny because Loren is friends with my husband.
Yeah.
And it's so funny how similar all the guys in that group are.
Yeah.
They're
It
very
really is.
similar. It reminds me of Pete a lot. Okay, so you've been together since then. And
Yeah.
then did you study similar things together? Because you work together now. You're in the same industry.
That's wild and a complete fluke because no, we didn't. So I was studying traditional journalism, wanted to be a television host. Yay,
Yay.
succeeded.
Clear
No,
vision.
but I was working at CNN. That's why I moved to Los Angeles for this internship. I worked on the very last season of Larry King. So I was very focused. I wanted to be an entertainment news reporter. And Loren was working, he was in school studying to be an audio engineer, which at the time he wanted to do music, which LA's perfect for that. And he was, mixing audio tracks and things for his friends. And that's what we basically did on the weekends was I mean, I won't say I'm a singer, but I can carry a tune. So I would like record tracks and he'd mix them with his buddies. And like, that's what he wanted to do. And so two vastly different things. And then our worlds kind of collided. It was, I like to call it like a 2-for-1 deal that happened. So after I had graduated, we, were applying for jobs and everything. And I got an offer to go to Indiana to be a radio reporter, not television. So, a little bit of a stepping stone. But I asked my future boss, I was like, is there anything audio engineer related, music related in Indiana? I had never heard of this little town called Fort Wayne. And I was like, he's looking for a job too. It's just what's the scene like up there? He goes, well, if you move to Indiana, I'll hire him too. And so I was like, okay, well, that sounds like a good deal because we graduated right after the financial crash, 2011. And, jobs were few and far between at that time, especially for a couple of college graduates. And so we're like, okay, well, we'll just take that job. And he ended up working for a radio station, mixing audio, which he had never thought about doing until it was presented to him. And that's how we both got into the field together, pretty much. And we've been working together for I don't even know how many years at this point.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
When was the first time you worked together and how was that? Was there an adjustment period?
Yes. So when I say we worked together, like in Indiana, we worked for the same company. We worked on the same similar radio stations, but we didn't actually work hand in hand. I was down the hall doing country music radio. I had my own little show. This feels so familiar to me. Big old headphones and microphone. And then he was on the other side doing the board, working the audio stuff. And he was doing news. So even though we worked together, we didn't work on the same content together. And then when we moved back to Los Angeles a few years later, he worked sports, was an executive producer. I did entertainment. So in the same field, working side by side, but not together. The first time we actually joined forces to work on something together was during the pandemic, was last year. Was it only last year? Last year during the pandemic, he again was hired by Quibi. Rest in peace again. He was hired by Quibi to be my, camera operator, lights person, whatever, because everything was in our home. And he was truly the only person that I was allowed to have contact with, as we did during that time. And that's when we started working together again. And then we started doing our own content together, separate of Quibi, and really figuring that out. So that was the biggest adjustment period. Working side by side, that came naturally. Working together on our own projects together, I guess our one project together, that was the adjustment period.
Okay, so what I'm sure creative differences come up because he's you're super funny, he's super funny too. I'm sure you guys have ideas left and right. So who did you split up tasks? In the beginning, I assume. I'm just imagining if I ever did decide to work with my husband, how we would need to have some clear rules here. You're in charge of this. I need to zip it, and then I'm in charge of this.
Yes. I think that probably would have been best if we had come up with that plan in the beginning, but we didn't. It was, I don't think we really even thought of it as work at the time. So to back up just a little bit about what happened. So we get it put in lockdown. We work on my show together. For Quibi, which was now that was easy. I have my one job, he has his one job. We have a million bosses telling us what to do. But somewhere in there, around the time that Donald Trump was telling everyone to drink bleach, we decided to post our own videos, content wise. And it was just something that we had always I had always done because I have my social media presence and, he'll help me with the, flip on the camera and stuff. But it was the first time that he was actually interested in the content that I did. And no offense to Kim Kardashian, but he didn't care about when I reported on her. But all of a sudden, there was this element that we could share and that we can bond over. And so we just started posting videos and I would write a little script and he would write a little script and we'd tweak a little bit. And then we just went and we never intended to go viral. We never intended to like make it a full-time thing. So we were just learning as we went, and we were doing it simultaneously with our other full-time job. So it was just kind of fitted in whenever we could. So there wasn't really any structure. There wasn't really a you do this, you do this. Now we kind of have that figured out. Like Loren's now home working on Hey America. He's writing up scripts. He's, handling the writing stuff. But the way that it's divided now is we're both executive producers. He and I will usually come up with an idea. We'll kind of mull it over for a little while, decide yes we're going to do it or no we're going to not do it, and then we both kind of split the writing duties. He's much better at starting something and like forming it all out, and I'm much better at the end, like coming in and like tweaking those types of things. So he handles a lot of the writing, but for me, I'm the only one of us that edits. So when these videos come out, like so much of my time is dedicated to editing the video. So while he's writing, I'll edit, and then I'll come in at the end to just tweak things. Then he'll set up everything while I get into hair and makeup. Then we film. He produces me as we go, like inflections. If I'm like, the camera's here, so I'll just like, if I'm sitting here talking or whatever, he'll, do it, try it like this, try it like this. We work really well together like that. And then as soon as it's done, then I hand it, like he hands it to me, the tape to me basically, or digital files. I guess it's not a tape anymore, but hands me the digital files and I go into edit while he like starts the next one. So that's kind of how it was. But in the beginning, it was just a free for all.
It's okay. So what happens when there is a disagreement? Like, what if, like, does he ever get offended if you don't like his idea?
Yeah. And I get offended too if he doesn't like my idea. I think my favorite line is, "You never like my ideas."
So how do you agree? What if like he thinks that like you really should say this and you don't want to say it or something? Like, how do you
Here's the
resolve
thing.
that?
I will mostly try anything
Okay.
and see how it like fits. If he stops me mid take or whatever, it's like, try it like this. I will mostly try it. And then I can kind of tell immediately if it's going to work. And like, since we work with humor and like political humor, and it is more like biting and timely and topical, like we say a lot of, we go there, but sometimes you just gotta dial it back. And he likes to go there more than I do. I think it's because I'm the person on camera. And if someone's gonna get
It's
upset,
easier, yeah.
yes, it's easier for people to get mad at me. So he can be like, just say this. And I'll be like, you say that. But I will honestly, like, I'll try just about anything that he says. And we really do trust each other. I trust him with my life. I married him, but I also trust him in this too. And his instincts are really, really good. But at the end of the day, like, we did have to come to an agreement early on. Like, this is my face. Like, if someone's going to get offended, like at someone, it's going to be me. It's never going to be you, unfortunately. So I do get a little more weighted in that. But like I said, like we've come to like really understand each other in our content. And so honestly, now we don't quite have that many disagreements. We did in the beginning about what we were doing and what we wanted to achieve. But now it's a good flow.
That's
So,
great.
yeah.
Do you think he's ever felt threatened by your ambition?
No.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
I'm gonna think. I don't think so. And I'll bring us back to a conversation we had very early on in our relationship. And I mean, communication is key. Like, if you're looking on how to like manage your relationships with your husband, career or not, like, communication is key. And we've had really good communication from the very beginning. But there was one instance back in Indiana, and I, as an honor personality, I tend to make more money than he does. And for the majority of our time together, see, this is the part where he's going to be like, No, but that's just how it is. Like, on-camera personalities make more sometimes than producers do. And so for the majority of our time together, I've made more money than him. And so in the beginning, when we were just dating and before we like combined finances, which is a whole other like, conversation, but there was some, I don't want to say jealousy, but there's an imbalance and we had to work through it. And we were young too. I mean, this was our first jobs that we had outside of college. This is the first time in our life we were even making money. So of course, when it came down to spending the money, it was interesting, and we were living together, so splitting the bills, but I was making more, and so we had a conversation about it, and I was like, he told me his insecurities about me making more money than him, and I just very bluntly explained, you're just going to have to get over it. Like, we're a team, and I'm never going to do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. Like, even though our finances weren't legally combined at that time, we were sharing a home, we were sharing bills and, all these things. So I was like, I'll always be honest with you, but like, and I appreciated his honesty with me too, but you're just going to have to get over this. Like, I'm always going to shoot for the stars, and it's not even like you're along for the ride because we're doing this together, but like, this really is an us thing. It's not a me thing. It's not a you thing. It's an us thing. And since we've had that conversation, and that was, gosh, I mean, almost a decade ago, that's really how we've operated. And it doesn't matter what my success is. I mean, he doesn't want to be on camera, so that's a whole different thing. But I think it's in terms of like money is where he like cares about it a little bit more. But no, this is an us proposition. It's not a me proposition or a him proposition. And my success is his success and always has been, but now so much more so since we are working together. So if I'm successful, in what I'm doing, now he's a part of that. He's a huge part of that. And we're successful together.
What are some of your favorite traits or qualities
Of
about
him?
him? Yeah.
About him? Well, his honesty, first of all, like what I just said. Like we were in our mid-20s working, and I think about this conversation a lot because all the other guys that I ever like dated or would they have ever even said that, or like even like talking now with my friends who have great relationships with their husband, but the money thing is like such a huge deal. And we don't have that. Our communication is so good, and we are so willing to talk to each other about literally anything. Like, nothing is off limits, and that is a huge, huge quality that I appreciate in him. He brought out in me too. I mean, I'm a talker, but it's a little more different when it's your own vulnerabilities, his patience. I have zero. I have absolutely none, and he has all of the patience. So we fit really, really well together because I always feel like what I'm lacking, he makes up for, and vice versa. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that his organizational skills are a strong suit of his, but Miss OCD over here,
That's so funny. Didn't you say, because our husbands are so similar, like
Oh my
always
God.
losing things?
He lost his wallet 3 times in a month.
Yeah, I don't like.
Who does that?
I always wonder if he does similar things. I'm like, how do you function in life?
Yes.
I'm like, just put it back in the same place.
Right.
okay?
And I always joke, you would definitely not function without me. I was like, you could never divorce me because you would literally just walk around like shirtless. Like, you would never be able to function.
But it seems like they're so like happy-go-lucky too.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little jealous, like that they're just so simple. Like, oh, it's fine. We'll figure it out. Where I'm
Right.
like, oh my gosh.
I'm the one on the floor, like, in a ball, huddled
Like,
up,
yeah,
rocking
what are
back
we
and
gonna do?
forth. And exactly, that's Loren too. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to sit there and cry, and you're not going to feel better, but the fact that he's able to like tell me that and like pick me up off the floor and those types of things, that's a huge quality. And going back to like the ambition thing too, is like, there isn't that competition at all. But like the fact that he has always been so, so, so supportive of my wild and crazy dreams. Like, insane. I have the most insane like goals and dreams. And he has never once like called me crazy or looked at me different. He was just like, we'll make it work. Yeah, whatever you want. He is just unabashedly supportive of my work. And that is so rare of a modern guy, I think, which is so sad because modern women these days, like, we have such dreams and such goals. And I hear so often from like my girlfriends who maybe don't have that much support. Like, my husband doesn't blink an eye. When I told him a few years ago in our 30s that I wanted to pack up our life in Los Angeles and move to New York City for a job, he was like, okay, we're going to make this work. We're going to do this. Like, who does that? So that is, he's so supportive, and vice versa too. We've moved across the country for him too. So
Great. So with support, because I think that looks different for everybody.
of course.
So for you specifically, how does that support, like, does it look like? So it sounds like some of it is like words of encouragement and
Mhm.
also action. He's
Yeah.
willing to do it. Is there anything else that would be categorized as support to you? Like holding space, or like literally like him being there? Or sometimes people, they view support as like freedom, like you do you, babe.
That is nice. Yeah. I am not one of those you do you people.
Okay.
No, I mean, I am. Like, obviously, like, he goes out with your husband quite a bit, and that's like, yeah, I'll see you later, but gosh, I don't even know what that would look like a you do you for like days at a time. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know that that's the most healthy like thing in a relationship. We are so intertwined. Um Good, bad, however, that's just how we are. But I don't like support. Yeah, I mean, like you said, like, actions and stuff like that. But I mean, especially over this past like year, like we really, I don't want to call them therapy sessions because I actually did get a real therapist this year.
Oh, you did? That's
Yes,
great.
but for so many years he has acted as like my therapist and vice versa
Mhm.
too. Like especially during the pandemic when things were just so wild and so crazy and there was for a period of time only, a handful of people you could be around and for a long time just him. Just one person you could be around in those early days and to have someone to just sit here and like roll through all of your craziest fears too. Like the fact that he's like supportive and, yeah, supportive of my dreams is great, but he's also I don't want to say supportive of my fears, but he acknowledges my fears and treats them seriously, even when they're not rooted in. They're just they're normal anxiety, so they're not rooted in actual fact. But he treats them seriously, as a therapist would. Like I
Like,
said, I'm not sure that that's like the healthiest thing, but it is nice.
yeah. So, like, what is an example of something he would say if you're having anxiety, or is he just quiet and like lets you have your,
It depends.
you know,
I
flip
definitely
out or
he
whatever?
does let me have my thing. I prefer it better when he like talks, through things. But an example is, I mean, yeah, like there's been plenty of times where I have been like, on the kitchen floor just upset about whatever it is, the world is falling apart, and he just like gently says like, first of all, the world is not falling apart. Stop being dramatic, Heather. How dare you? No, but and he just lets me know that like whatever happens, we're going to get through it, but we're most importantly going to get through it together. Like I never have to worry about going through anything alone, whether it's, you know, rational or irrational. If it's just irrational thoughts of anxieties of the world is crashing down, which we had that so many times last year, the world is falling apart, he's here to tell me that that's irrational. Or if something really big happens, like, I mean, we dealt with unemployment. We're still dealing with unemployment, and that's a really tangible fear, and he just lets me know that doesn't matter what's going to happen. Like, we're going to get through this together. You never have to do anything alone.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it sounds like you feel safe with him,
Oh,
extremely
the
safe.
most safe of any person in this planet. Yeah.
Have you ever dated anyone or maybe been friends with someone who didn't make you feel safe?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in a whole bunch of different ways too, not even like physical safeness, but just like emotionally safe,
Yeah.
where you can feel vulnerable
Yeah.
and not have it twisted or turned or used against you or blurted out to, another person, especially in the dating world. Cause,
Yeah.
you get close to someone and then something happens and they immediately go tell all their friends, like that kind of drama happens, but I don't have to worry about that with my husband. I don't have to worry that he's going to go blab to your husband about my irrational fears, which is good. I think you should be able to have a safe space and one
Yes.
that's unique to you,
Yes.
especially in this modern world where there's just so many things. And I mean, it's so hard to have a private life anyway, but to be able to know that you do have that within your own space. And after 11 years, I'd be a little bit concerned if he was blabbing things out. But no, when you're like dating someone, it's completely different. The boundaries aren't necessarily set. And I definitely never felt any more safe than him. And it was like truly instant, like from day one, just this safeness with him.
Did you know when you were that young, kinda like what you wanted in a relationship, or did you kinda figure it out
Oh,
as you
no, I
guys
had
went?
no idea. Going back to, like, my Southern roots, I, grew up thinking I wanted, tall, dark, handsome. I grew up in the church,
Mhm.
so I mean, my parents' dream for me was to marry a pastor.
Yeah.
And I thought I guess my view on relationships were a bit skewed because I had my parents to look up to, and they're still married, and they have a great relationship, and everything. But I viewed it all through like the lens of church and religion, and it wasn't until actually when I met Loren, and college helped a bit with that too. But realizing that there's other options, and especially like getting out of that old like Southern worldview of like a woman's role and a woman's place, because that skewed my idea of what a relationship should be too. The more traditional mindset of the man is the breadwinner, which we already went over. That's not the case in my relationship, and the woman is the person who stays home with kids, or, at least is the main caretaker of the kids, whether she's in or out of the home for the majority of the time. Don't have kids, so I didn't fall into that category either. But it really did take, I had to meet him and realize that like other guys outside of the South existed, because it's not even just women who want these things in the South either. It's the men, and it's the entire culture. You asked a question a minute ago about if he ever felt stifled or jealous of my ambition, or what's I'm thinking of a word. I can't think of the word. But yeah, like just, how he felt of my ambition. And I've been with plenty of guys who did feel threatened. That's the word I'm looking for. Threatened. Thank you. Who did feel threatened by my ambition and didn't want me to succeed because of their own fears of what they could amount to. And yeah, I didn't realize that like those types of men even existed until I met Loren, someone who could just, yeah, let's go for your dreams and not focus on just my dreams too. So I had no idea that A, that those people existed, or B, that I even wanted it until it was presented to me. And like we grew in our relationship too over time. So it was not an overnight thing. He had great qualities, but like our relationship took time and effort, and it's all been going in the great path. But I knew something was different from him than the other guys that I had dated pretty immediately.
And because you've been together so long and because you met really young, did you ever break up at any point, or
Yes.
have like a
Yes
self-reflection
and
period?
no. So when I met Loren, I was in Los Angeles for 6 months, and I was in my senior year of college. I took 6 months off, a semester off, and the summer to come out and work for Larry King. So I had to go back and finish school. And I had met this guy, and we had a great like 3-4 months together. It was like one of those romance like novels or like rom-com movies where the guy or the girl swoops into town. You have a whirlwind relationship, and then whatever. I literally hopped on a plane and went back home, and he dropped me off at the airport, and we talked. And I didn't know this guy that much. 4 months, and we dated. There was no like friendship period before that. We immediately just started dating, which I don't really recommend, but I did it. I also was thinking this is a flash in the pan. Like, I'm going to say yes to experiences. I'm not going to focus so much. That's another thing in the South too, is like, especially in religion, is you're not really supposed to like date unless you intend to like marry a person. So I guarded myself so much in college and in high school and like in my early 20s about, I can't date you because I can't see myself marrying you, but with Loren, I was like, I don't care. Like I have no intention of marrying you. I have no intention of doing anything but having a good time, in my last year of college. And so when he dropped me off at the airport, we said goodbye. And it was like, well, I'm 3,000 miles away. This was again before, we had email and text, but like before social media was really big. And that was that. And it was supposed to be that. And I called him that night because because my flight had been delayed, and I was stressed and very sad, obviously. And I called him that night, and I was just crying, like sitting on the airport floor. I'm always sitting on the floor crying. From day one with him. No. So I'm sitting on the like terminal floor, like, crying because my flight is delayed and I have to wait a few hours. And he was just so like, he was also sad too, but just so sympathetic on with me on the phone. And I was like, why are you calling this guy? You guys broke up like 6 hours ago. What are you doing? And he said something, I don't think I've ever shared this story, but he was like, I could see that he was like also sad too, just very sympathetic, empathetic. And I was like, well, what's the matter? He goes, I just feel sad that my baby's sad and I'm not there to like help you. And I was like, oh yeah, I can't let this guy go.
So sweet.
Yeah, and then, like, long story short, he ended up moving to Florida because I had another year of college, and we
Okay.
just couldn't be apart for a year, and yeah, he moved to Florida. Everybody thought it was crazy. Every single person in our life said that this was a dumb idea. Looking back, it was a dumb idea, but it worked out.
Awesome. Yeah, when I look at you guys together, I can see a strong friendship base.
Yes, he is my best friend.
That's so
And
cute.
it's funny because, like I said, like, we did not have a friendship period before we started dating, but he is my best friend, and I don't wanna say we're friends first, or but I guess now we are, like, friends first because, like, you think about relationships, and there's obviously, like, the romance involved in that. Dude, after a decade together, romance
It
is not the forefront of our life.
it becomes more
It
practical.
it does, it does, which is not even a bad thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here like, "Oh, I wish my sex life was," it's not like that. Like, and we have always, always, always said that about, like, our relationship. It never has leaned on, like, the romance side anyway, and so, like, our friendship is the thing that keeps us going, I guess, but I could never. We joke sometimes about, like, getting divorced, and I was like, "I could never. I can't like, and also joking about, like, him functioning without me. I can't function without him either. I couldn't function 6 hours.
Oh,
You know?
so cute.
Is it, or is it creepy?
No, it's really sweet. I really like I'm personally drawn to like
Yeah.
playful dynamics and when they're friends too.
Mhm.
Because I photographed weddings for over 15
Mm.
years and I would, kind of observe the couples and the ones that were super playful and you could just tell there was like quiet comfort when they were together
Yeah.
and you could just tell they were best friends.
Yeah.
Those were my favorite.
Yeah.
So I put that in my mental picture being like, I want
You
something
need to have a
like
best friend. No,
something
honestly,
like
it
that.
is truly important because it doesn't matter what anybody tells you. The romance is not going to be there forever.
No,
It's
it's true. That is the
not.
reality of
It is the reality, and
relationships. It
especially
changes.
long-term relationships. I'm
Yes.
talking about 11 years, which is
Yeah.
wild, which is more than a third of my life
Yes.
at this point. That's
Yes.
weird. It's not gonna be sexy time every night. It's
It's
just
yeah,
not.
it changes, and there's little things you can do to
Of
nurture,
course.
like novelty and things like that,
Yes.
but it is different, so if you are expecting the butterflies, like, movie thing, like,
Uh-uh.
you're gonna be in
But
short-term relationships
At
forever.
this that is very true, but at this point too, like, I still occasionally get the butterflies, which is also, like, great, lovely, and it
Yeah.
reminds me that I am still alive. But it makes
I
it
feel
I
something.
know, I do. Geez, after this year feeling anything,
Yeah.
right? This past year. No, but it does make it, like, that much sweeter, and it does, like, because you do get those moments where you're like, "Oh, it wasn't what it was 10 years ago." Of course not. But then when I do have those, like, moments, I'm like, yeah, like, it honestly is, like, sweeter. It does make it sweeter.
Awesome. So, for all the women listening, what is the top piece of advice you would give for a high performing, ambitious woman if she wants to create a
Mhm.
relationship? She wants a partner to come into her life. It doesn't have to be one, maybe
Yeah.
a few things too. What advice would you give them?
I think first and foremost, like, never settle, for a guy, and I was guilty of that for many years of my life, and I didn't know that Lauren was gonna be so supportive. Like, that was, like, a happy surprise afterwards, and obviously, like, when I realized that you reel them in, you keep them, but there were signs that because I came out here for, for the internship, and I was always looking for gigs to do, and he would drive me to auditions or help me, read over my resume or whatever it was. And even before we really, really started working together, he would review my content and give me advice. And, like, those little things, like, mean so, so much. Like, someone who's engaged in your success, even if it's not a part of that. Now it's like a huge part of our life together and our story together. But he was so supportive even when it wasn't. And it didn't even have to be anything big, just like, proofread this for me or something like that. Like, take note of those little things that he does, but then also take note of the big things that he does too. For an ambitious woman, it's just like, I look to Lauren for support in him in so many ways, especially with my career, because again, like I took such a different path than my whole family, than my whole culture where I grew up. And I don't want to say that like I'm the only woman of like my friends or whatever who are successful. That's not the case at all. But I took a much more public, much more different path. I am starting to be one of the only people of my friends who doesn't have kids, or, you know, who doesn't think about, you know, who's not even like thinking about that or on that path at this very, very moment. So it does get a little lonely, and, you know, to watch everybody else like think of success differently than you. Make sure that he views your success the same way that you do, because success means, like you said, so many different things. And as long as your guys' success means the same thing, I think that's perfect. Like success to other people could mean the home and the kids and the family and, you know, whatever that is. It's not the same way it means to me, and we have to be on the same page on that. So I think that's hold on to that one as well.
Oh, that's fantastic advice.
Is it?
Yeah, no, it is. It's fantastic advice. I mean, people I think the best people to ask for advice just is the people who have what you want, or they're already there. You've been
Right.
together for over 11 years,
Mhm.
you know, so you've been through highs, lows, and all that. So
Mhm.
I do think it's the best advice. And also, sometimes also some people who are divorced, I think, give the best advice too, because you've
Right?
made the mistakes and you get a lot more
Exactly.
clear on what is needed to create, you
Oh,
know, the
exactly.
partnership
And
you
it's
want.
there's like this common misconception too that like because I've been together with him for so long, and like I'm in my early 30s for a little while longer.
Oh my
No.
gosh, Heather, stop. Just wait until you hit your mid-30s. That's when your face starts to change, and
I
then you
feel
can
like it
come talk
already
to me.
has. I feel like 2020 did a number. I've
I
aged so much, and Loren too. Like he aged so much during the pandemic, and he's in his mid 30s, I guess. But it is like, you know, I have like two groups of friends at this point. I think it's so funny to like, you know, think about age and like as we all like are going through life together, and like what I viewed in my early 20s and what I view in my early 30s, my vision of success and like all these things, it changes, which is really fun actually. But I have like two groups of friends at this point, like the full on married with children, like dealing with that. And then I have like the early 30s dating like friends or whatever. I don't even really have like much of a middle, like, you know, like you're one of my very few friends that actually doesn't have children either, you know?
Yeah.
And so like it's interesting. There's a common misconception that because I've been with this person for a third of my life, that, you know, we have a successful relationship, that I've got it all figured out. No, no, no. Not at all. And that like our life is perfect, and that there have never been like these low points too. And there's been plenty of them, plenty. And so like just because we've worked it out doesn't mean that we haven't also been there too, you know. And I think that people are like, oh, you're such a success because you've been with this person for a long time and it's really successful. And like, yes, we are a success, but I'm not even measuring my success on how long we've had a successful marriage. Successful meaning we're not divorced. Like it
Right.
could still be a hugely successful marriage and also end up in divorce.
Yeah.
I'm not wishing that, knock on wood, but you know, like I don't even view a divorce as even a failure
Yeah.
either. And
Same.
like seeing is like, I mean, we've been together 11 years now, and seeing how we have changed over the last 11 years together, that's the big thing too, is like we're changing together, which I think is that's also going to make our marriage last longer. It's
Yes.
like we're completely different people
Yeah.
than we were 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, 2 years ago with this
I
pandemic.
know.
You know, it's all,
Yes,
but
it's funny.
we are ebbing and flowing and changing together, and I think you have to be open to that.
Yeah.
And we've talked about divorce too, like, you know, if what that would mean and what it would mean to our friendship and stuff like that, because we are friends first. And you know, and I don't look at divorce as a failure, especially if you're complete. It is unrealistic to think that two people are going to be exactly the same as they were in their mid 20s when they got married. That's ridiculous, you know, and we've decided to change together and accept each other, but it doesn't always work out. And who
Abs-
knows?
Absolutely. No, that's what it is. The most you can do is be honest,
Yes.
you know, live your truth, communicate that with your partner,
Mhm.
and then hopefully you grow together. But sometimes the other person's truth might not line up with yours. And when
Completely.
that happens, it's very disappointing, but that's the truth, you know,
Right.
and that's okay.
It's the reality. And like I don't think you always have to like I've been like really fortunate, and this is part of Lauren and I's relationship. I don't know. I'm going to take that back. I don't think I'm fortunate. We work on this. This isn't a luck. This isn't like some luck thing that we just have great communication. It's not. Like, I mean, it's lucky that we were both open to it, but we developed, this communication over the last 11 years. But honestly, it is something you have to work on, and you have to keep it up every day in constant communication. And we talk about, different challenges that could come up in life, and we face them together, and being supportive of each other's high moments. We talk about how he was so supportive of my success. He's also super supportive of my failures, and vice versa.
Yes. Yeah, you have to choose someone who can withstand those lows. Anybody can stick around when
Oh,
it's
yeah,
good,
that's the
right?
easy part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on
Has it
and
already been an
sharing.
hour? Oh my
I
gosh.
think so. If people would like to see your
Yeah.
work and get in contact with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
I'm on all the social media, way too many social media channels, at Heather G TV. And that's where you can find all the work. And you see my shiny little face, but just know that there is my husband behind me writing all those scripts.
Lovely Lauren, supportive Lauren. He's great.
Supportive Lauren, yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.